Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's Mike D here. Got Ron Vay here. You know what? By popular demand, or backed by popular demand, we had such a successful opening episode. We figured, you know what? Let's do this again, man. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You
Good.
good?
I'm doing great, man. The weather is warmer out here in Atlanta. I know you up top. Probably not the same story up
Freezing.
there. I'm sure it's
It's
getting down
freezing.
at some point too, man. This weather's crazy. So for the people who didn't tune into the previous show, Ron Vay and I talk about production, and what we what we thought about was the fact that when we talk about classic albums, we always talk about the artists, and we always talk about their input lyrically, the songs, and all that. But the other 50% of a classic album is the production job, is the sequencing, is the order of the songs. And there's no better album for us to start this series with than Outkast's Aquemini. What do you think about that, Ron Bay? I mean, I know we agree with it offline. What are your thoughts
hmm
on Aquemini real quick for the people before we dive into this?
Yeah, and I also got a question for you too.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Um, I think overall, Aquemini is outcast at the height of their superpowers,
Agree.
production wise and as MCs. And I think it's crazy because they're both of them are rapping at such a high level. But to me, it's the production that's the most impressive about this album. The fact that the I feel like the students became the teachers,
Mm,
so to speak, and they really distinguished themselves as musicians as opposed to just rappers, and it's extremely difficult to do both. It's extremely difficult to handle being an MC and being a producer, and to then also do both at a high level on one album is just it's something that we take for granted.
Agreed,
It's a
and I think it's noteworthy as well. At the time, we're talking about 1998. They were born in 75. These guys are 22, 23 years old recording this album.
Mhm.
Um, so yes, it's a very impressive feat at any age. But these guys are 22, 23 years old. Now, I always harp on the fact that Tribe, and how Q-Tip handles so much at a young age in producing the Low End Theory, Midnight Marauders, and People's Instinctive. He was like 19, 20 years old, producing the full People's Instinctive. And I'm sure, Q-Tip and Tribe being a big influence on Big Boy Dre and Outkast as a collective, I'm sure that was part of the mindset as well. Like, look, it's time to start stepping into our own and handling our own production. And they
Mhm.
did that, and they did that in spades. I
Yeah.
sent you an article and I think we could start with this. I think this would be a great
Yeah.
place to start. I sent you an article that I read in Creative Loafing, literally in the physical print era. This is back in 2010, and it was a great article. They did a breakdown of Akumenai song for song. It's online now, so if you Google Creative Loafing, Akumenai, Outkast, or whatever, you should be able to find it and read it. They spoke to Big Boy, Dre, Mr. DJ, Preston Crump, who was their bass player. They spoke to Rico Wade. They spoke to Raekwon on there. A host of others, KP, who was A&R of the project at LaFace at the time. And they went song for song and broke down everything about that song, what they remembered from the creative standpoint, the thoughts behind the records, where the records came from, how the records were produced, and it's a real quick read, honestly, and it's in a format where it's almost like a documentary, and I think it's really dope. I even learned a lot of things about the project that I mean, I've listened to this album probably more times than any other hip hop album I've ever listened to, and I still was learning
Right.
new things from
Right.
this project. Some of the noteworthy things that were learned was, not Dr. Dre. Look at me, Andre 3000. He said he wrote out all the skits. I think that's incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
And then he was talking about the Pimp Trick Gangsta Click part of it. For the
Mhm.
people who don't remember, it's that skit between Rosa Parks and no, it's the skit between, excuse
Skip
me,
between
Return of the
Return to the
Gangster
G.
and
Absolutely.
Rosa Parks. That other skit is, Raekwon doing his thing. But yeah, Pimp Trick Gangsta Click was actually a real group with Andre, CeeLo, and Sleepy Brown. They said they recorded some songs and were yet to hear them. Another fun fact that came out of that article that we're going to be referencing throughout this conversation is that West Savannah being on the album, which was something that was recorded in '94 for Southern Playalistic. For the people who know, West Savannah's a solo Big Boy song on Aquemini. It was Andre's idea to put that song on the album. And Big Boy also said that Andre has a song like that as well. What was it? Hold Your Head? And he said,
Oja,
yeah,
yeah.
it's an Andre
Oh
3000
no, bow your head.
Bow Your Head. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's an Andre 3000 unreleased solo song from the '94 era. And maybe we'll hear it one day. But yeah, we're going to be talking about some of those nuggets throughout this conversation. And I want to start here, though. One of the big things that stood out to me in this article, and I do remember this from reading it back in 2010, was KP, who's the A&R. Shout out to KP, legend out here in Atlanta. He said that Big Boy wanted Y'all Scared to be the first song on the Kumina. And he fought for Return of the Gangster to be the first song because he felt that it made more sense because it wasn't a feature. It didn't have Goody Mob on it. It was basically Andre telling it all and setting the record straight. And it was the perfect set off for their third album. And with Andre's wardrobe changes, with his changes in imaging and his changes in delivery, people thought that Dre was spaced out. For the people who weren't there, I mean, we looked at it like, yo, what's going on with Dre? And he addressed all those things in Return of the Gangsta. And I agree with KP, but Big Boy, and you can even hear how Big Boy starts his verse. It sounds like he was preparing for Y'all Scared to be the intro. How do you think
Mm,
that changes this Five Mike Classic album? Just that one little change, and this is part of production, by the way.
yeah. Yeah. Well, the track listing is, especially for this album, it plays such a crucial role. No pun intended. It plays such a crucial role to what makes this album what it is. And so I agree with KP in that even though Return of the Gangster and Y'all Scared are similar as far as what they're talking about, um, the feel one it establishes a different tone. It establishes a whole different tone for the top of the album that we don't get. Um, and then I think also what KP said, which is a great point. You're no longer, if you start the album off with a song with featured artists on it, we as the listeners, we're not grading the song on the content or whatever. We're grading it on the features and who smoked who or who had the better whatever. And this is an album just in general that a lot of what makes it great, in addition to the production, are the statements and the messages they make and how they make those statements. And so with Return of the G, it you literally it can't get any better. It can't get any better. For me, Return of the G is my favorite Andre verse ever.
Really?
It's absolutely Return of the G. That verse shaped my whole outlook on rap music.
Mm.
Instead of talking about bitches and switches and hoes and clothes and weed, let's talk about time traveling, rhyme traveling, something mind unraveling, get down. Like that. That statement changed my entire outlook on what hip hop can be. And as a music maker, that's always been my approach, and that's always been my mindset when approaching music is how can we elevate each time? How can we take things just a little bit further each time? And to me, that is a hell of a statement to
Hmm.
make. In addition to the personal statements he makes about himself, if we're talking about the state of the game and where you sort of look at it like a state of the union almost, that there's no better message that you can start off with and something that sets the tone and breaks the ice than his verse on that song.
to piggyback on that, and I think that the fact that Andre was a very pivotal part in the production of this album, him, Mr. DJ, and Big Boy. But you could tell that Dre was really, really in the lab. He said in that article when they were talking about Rosa Parks, he shopped the Rosa Parks beat to Puffy for Total because he was going with Keisha at the time. Was it Keisha, I believe? Yeah, and so
Yeah,
yeah, he wanted that beat to go to Total, and he articulated that he was the one that was mostly in the lab, and their working process at that time, since Big Boy was a family man, had kids, wife, and all of that. Him and Mr. DJ would be in the studio cooking up. They would send the beats over to Big Boy. Big Boy came up with the hook, hush that fuss or whatever. But that was their
hmm
process. And the fact that he had the presence of mind to approach Return of the Gangster like that as an MC, it, like you said, it's a statement. And Aquemini is one of those albums. It is the album that opened up a lot of possibilities for me as far as rap goes and what I thought hip hop could be and how
yeah,
far hip hop could take some things. And Dre was challenging not just his peers, but the listener in that verse. And when he said, "I'm feeling better than ever. What's wrong with you? You do now." It's
you,
like he's opening up the album, letting people know, look, I'm good. I'm feeling better than ever, and you're about to hear how good I'm feeling on this album. And I think by far, and maybe that's why I'm so hard on, Andre and his performance. To me, I think end to end as an MC, and this is outside of the production side of it. I think it's his best performance on an album. Big Boy did his thing on this album as well. We're going to get to that. And I think it's one of the best rap performances from any group member on any hip hop album ever.
absolutely,
Showed
absolutely.
up on every record. Well, not on every record. Every record he showed up on,
Every
he
record he
showed
was
up on.
on, right?
And we're going to get to that too. Every record he was on, he showed up and he did it different. He did it each time. Honestly, it's probably a different flow damn near every record. I like the way he approaches songs. We spoke about this when me and Mickey Pax were having the conversation about the International Players Anthem verse. He
Mhm.
approaches songs with a theme, and he did that on Return of the Gangster. He did that on Rosa Parks, which I think is probably one of his more underrated verses. He was dealing with the
Absolutely.
pressure of following up. He answered the call, and not only did he answer the call as an MC, he answered the call from a production standpoint. And I do think that, I mean, you're right. I can't see the album without Return of the Gangster being the first song, because my
Yeah,
question would be, if Return of the Gangster is not the first song, where does it go on this album?
right, right.
Where does it
Certainly
go
not.
to have that impact?
Right. Well, and I also think going back to the track listing, this album really they do a great job of starting it from this very minimal meditative sort of state with hold on be strong. It's almost to me pardon me, it's to me hold on be strong really sets the tone because it's almost like taking a deep collective breath before we go in and and shit gets ugly. And the deeper the album goes, the darker it gets until finally, by the time we're at liberation,
Mhm.
we can finally breathe again.
We're going to talk
And
liberation too. I
you
do think
know,
it's
so
noteworthy, not to interrupt you. It's noteworthy that "Hold On, Be Strong" actually was a full song, and
yeah,
the guys, Outkast, they said they just wanted that part, and so I think that's another astute thing done from a production standpoint. Like, look, yeah, let's
right,
just take a couple of seconds of this. They said Dre played the Kabbalahs on this, and then they went
yeah,
right into Return of the Gangster,
right into it.
right into
Yeah,
I want to say this in liberation because I don't want to forget this over the course of our conversation. I remember the Source magazine did an article. Look at me going back to my print media day reading days. And they did an article where they were talking to current artists. This had to be the early 2000s about classic albums, the ones that they gave five mics. And Aquemini was one of those. And David Banner was the person they spoke to about Aquemini. And David Banner said, well, I'm paraphrasing here. So the only thing he would have changed about Aquemini is he would have made Liberation the final song.
Mm-hmm.
I hear where he's coming from, but to me that sounds predictable, and I like Chunky Fire as the final song, and I like the outro that they went with, pulling all the skits together to make it all make sense. As I think that they did that perfectly. Do you think Liberation should have possibly been the final song, or do you like Chunky Fire down there?
I used to think that too. I used to feel like it's just because I look at everything as a story, and I feel like Liberation is such a great bookend to the story. However, you sort of realize that Chunky Fire is actually a pre. Yeah, actually, Liberation is sort of the ending, and I sort of look at Chunky Fire as a precursor to Stankonia.
Right.
And to me, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's, you know,
Yeah, you're
and
right. It's like Chunky Fire is a preview to where we're going.
yes, and to be fair, Chunky Fire actually also could make a good opening track. Um, if you if listening to not only the beat but just what they're saying, you could easily, if you're playing with the track listing, Chunky Fire, you can make an argument. It would obviously change everything about the album, but you could make an album where Chunky Fire kicks things off, and it still feel great. But I think I definitely understand why Liberation could be looked at as the ending, and I felt the same way years back. But listening to it more and sort of kind of understanding, that takes us into right into Stankonia. And you listen to Gasoline Dreams, and it's like, yeah, of course, it makes so much sense.
I think Akumina is one of those albums that showed me the importance of sequencing and track listing.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I was trying to become an artist and in a group and putting together an album, Akumina was the album that I would go to for my cues. Like, okay, well, this is how you start an album. This is how you're gonna go right into the first single, and you're building the energy up. So for the people out there who don't have the track list right in front of them, like I said, I've listened to this album a million times. I think Thriller might be the only album I've listened to more than this one. So the track list goes Hold On, Be Strong, and then you're going to Return of the Gangster. Then it goes into Rosa Parks. Then it goes into
Mm-hmm.
Stewart on the Barbie. Then it goes into Aquemini. Then it goes into Synthesizer. Then it goes into Slump. Then it goes into West Savannah. Then it goes into Artist Storytelling 1, the Artist Storytelling 2. Then we're getting Mamacita. Then we're getting to Spodio Doublelicious. Then we got the Nathan skit, Liberation. I'm sorry, no, I skipped something. Then we got Y'all Scared. Then we got the Nathan skit, Liberation. Then we got Chunky Fire.
You really do know this album.
I know that I'm like the back of my hand, and it's like and the skits in between. This is another thing that I loved about Aquemini. And this is something that, and you could correct me, well, you can give your side of it, if you like, but I never liked when artists would put the skits as a separate track, or like Glaciers of Ice on Only Built for Cuban Links, where Ghost is talking the first minute, and I gotta go through either hearing Ghost talk or scan through Ghost, talking to get to Glaciers of Ice. I love
Right, right,
how even with these dope skits that could have lived on their own, they put
right.
them at the back of the songs. So it's like
Yeah,
they went right into the next song, but it gave you a choice where if you're just scanning through, you're going right into the song. But
yes,
at the same time, if you listen to the whole song, which you probably will because this album's so great, you're gonna go right into the skits. You know what I mean? And again,
yeah.
sequencing choices. I hate that they did that differently on Stankonia, but again, Stankonia is a whole different animal. I think they elevated the skits. The skits really mean something. Even the skit between West Savannah and uh,
Hmm.
and Artist Storytelling. with the
Yes.
kids, you know what I'm saying, talking to his grandmom and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah. Oh no, that's the phone call. It was like, let me get
That's
some
the
help. Yeah.
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 But
And
no, artist
grandma
storytelling is
after
funny because
that
he's like,
going into artist storytelling too. Which
yeah.
personally, if you ask me on whatever day, I'll probably give you a different answer. But right now, as we're recording this, I can say Art of Storytelling 2 is probably my favorite song on the Aquemini.
Mm,
And when I read the article where they were talking about where their mindset was on the creation of it, I wasn't disappointed. Dre
yeah.
said they wanted this song to sound like it's the end of the world. And you could hear the you could hear the necessity and the anxiousness in the beat, in the
Hmm.
delivery, in the lyrics.
Yeah.
And when he said
Yeah.
IFOs have landed in Decatur, he was like, I felt like these are things people have seen before. There's got to be somebody else out there who's just like us in another universe. That's why I call them identified objects. And yeah, this
Yeah.
is just where
Yeah.
Dre was at this time. This is the Dre.
Yeah.
This is the Dre that was my favorite rapper in 1990.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really not even just related to, I guess his journey at that time, but he was just so innovative. They were just so innovative as a collective. And
Hmm.
I'm gonna go with Artist Storytelling 2 as my favorite record on there. And I think it's one of the most impressive beats on there too.
Yeah. 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 Ah, man, it's man, because it
Spodioti
changes
Dope
every
Delicious
time.
is on this album too, by the way. Like this is
I
crazy.
was gonna say, like, for me, I think Spodioti is the one that like I play probably the most off of this album, and the fact that that's a 7 minute, almost 8 minute song says a lot, and I can listen to that straight through.
Yeah.
Um, I think Spodioti and Skew It are still
Yeah.
my favorites, but for different reasons. Spodioti is a vibe. It's just a vibe. The horns are iconic, but then just on some MC shit, Skew It. I mean, they all brought it, and so it's always hard for me to pick between those two.
You know, I Skewed on the Bar was the first song I heard from Aquemini. It was the first time. I mean, I remember exactly where I was. I was in my parents' car. We were near Cumberland Mall. Greg Street played it, and I'm like
Hmm.
super Wu Tang fan, super Dungeon Family fan. Like, I mean, what else could you want?
Right.
They were. They said that Erica Badu was in the studio when because Organized Noise made this beat, and she heard the beat, and they was like, "Oh yeah, this is it." That shit
Yeah,
sounds. Ray Murray, and shout out to Ray Murray. I want to give him the credit. Rest in peace to Rico Wade. The way
absolutely.
that Organized Noise relationship worked, Ray Murray would make beats, Rico Wade would make beats. I think Rico Wade made Cell Therapy, and Ray Murray was more of the hands-on producer, if you will. I would say that Sleepy Brown's probably more of the Pharrell role in the Neptunes type thing, I guess. But they always gave props and credit to the individual who made the beat, and they let it be known that Ray Murray made "Skew It on the Barbie." He said something interesting about the snare. Now,
Yeah.
you're a producer, and I remember in that day, snares were. It was always like everybody had their own individual signature snare. Now, the
Right.
snare and Skew It on the Barbie, according to Rico in that article, the Creative Loafing article we're referring to, according to him, that snare was something that was created. And he said other producers, or alluded to the fact that other producers may have utilized that snare moving forward. Now, is that the snare that we identify with Timberland?
That was news to me.
Uh huh.
I the thing that does stand out about this track are the drums. The drums are crazy. But that being said, I didn't know it was something that was. I thought this was the only track um, that used that snare, and maybe it's the way they used it that sort of made that made me feel like, because they use it in the way the pattern, the way the drum pattern
Right.
was put together. Um, so that was news to me, and even more so why, for me it was like, yeah, I mean, it's a hard ass track, but I do know that, your drums in general, your drum sounds, particularly obviously the kick and the snare. Um, I've been in sessions with, other producers where they spend hours just going through just snare sounds, and sometimes, I don't know if they did as much as this in the 90 in the late 90s, but it got to the point where producers started, even stacking
Yeah,
snares
that's what I was gonna
to
say.
create, yeah,
And we would
and
we would stack different snares. We would change the reverb on certain snares
mhm,
just to create a
mhm,
new. We were looking for new sounds, and
new sound,
to get to Timbaland, and he's one of the big influences on that. Like this man had, he had all these different created sounds on a whole, I guess, hidden stock of keyboard. What's the word I'm looking for? You know how you have it.
like your bank.
Yeah, yeah. And it'll have like created drums,
Yeah,
snares, kicks, things like that. And yeah, the snare was one of those things that we used to play around with and see what we could stack up to get either a strong snare or something that was like that gives you a quick hit. And I
mhm,
guess I never really looked at Skew It on the Barbie like that because there's so many things to listen to on there. And I mean, I love
yeah,
the sample. The sample sounds like, and I think does it come from like a news type of thing that dun 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 dun.
um, yeah, police woman
Yeah,
theme,
that's what it is.
Yep,
Police woman thing. And
yeah,
yeah, man, it's just beautiful. I agree, man. It's always been one of my favorites. It's definitely my favorite video from that
yeah,
album. I mean,
yeah,
energy. I wish it were bigger, but listening to Raekwon talk about it and the way it came together, you always hear that story about Raekwon was living in Atlanta, he was living in Buckhead, and him,
yep,
Big Boy ran into each other at Lenox Mall and said, "Look, we need to collaborate. I'm a fan of yours, you're a fan of mine." Boom, boom. He came to the dungeon, and they got in the booth. Big Boy said this is the first time that he rapped a verse with another MC in the booth with him, and Ray was like, "This is how we do it," like get this energy. And you think of somebody
yeah,
in a group with nine other guys, pretty much, it's like, yeah, this is how they do it. And
yeah,
Boy killed that verse,
yeah,
murdered it. And I love the fact
murdered it.
that even how they introed the song with the
Hmm.
skits. Once again, this is production with them having the conversation between Big Boy and Ray. They talking about we handling the earth right now. You got to be innovative. You got to be provocative. Once again,
Yeah.
challenging the listener, challenging their peers. And this
Hmm.
is Dungeon Family and Wu Tang. These guys are talking about like, look, we can't just do the same old same. And then they go
Right.
into the song. It's
Hmm.
brilliant, man. And then Dre setting it off. This is another thing we talk about with production. Who makes the decisions? And we don't talk about this enough. But who makes the decisions to say, look, I'm gonna go first. He's gonna go second. Big Boy
Hmm.
third.
Yeah.
The order was perfect on this song too.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think they had to know ahead of time.
You think so?
I think so. I
Because
think that Dre's gonna set this one off. They wrote these verses. It felt like, and maybe I just feel like this because I've listened to these for 25 years, but it felt like Dre spit his verse with the intent of going first, and it felt like
yeah.
Big Boy spit his verse with the intent of going last.
So you feel like, I guess the question is, do you feel like it was a thing where before they even wrote, was it a thing where, okay, who wants to go first? I'll go first. Okay, go right. Was it like that, or do you think that they all wrote their verses, spit them for each other, and then decided, oh shit, yeah, that sounds like that should go first, and so forth?
I don't know, but my gut would tell me, and just I guess how we used to do it. I think that they heard this beat and Big's like, I'm going last. And you know what I'm saying? And then everybody kind of just picked their spots from there. And again, back to KP's point, it makes sense to have Raekwon in the middle.
Yeah.
And back then, when Outkast used to collaborate with people at the level that Dre and Big Boy was spitting at, there was really no win. Like I remember even when Mystical went first on Neck of the Woods, you got Big
Mm.
Boy coming right behind you, and then you got Dre closing out. These guys could take over a song very quickly.
Yes.
Going last with them will make your verse get skipped at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for it to encompass everything it needed to, Ray had to go in the middle. Like it was no real,
Yeah.
for a question about that. And I think that based on the style of the song, it was important for Big Boy to go last, and with the message that Big Boy was presenting about the fact that Southern Playalistic should have got 5 mics,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
I need my other half a mic.
A
And
mic.
again, not even just challenging the listener, now you're challenging the journalist.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
perfect it's a perfect album, and you're doing it on the record with the Wu-Tang New York member on there. You know what I'm saying? And
The one of the hottest rappers in the game,
period.
in of course New York City.
And not in the '90s,
Yeah.
period. One of New York's finest in the '90s. I mean, all time. But you know that New York is possibly going to play this, and so the
Right.
intent there, I thought was brilliant. And even him
Yeah.
pointing to the mic in five, and in the music video, like putting pressure on everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
man,
man.
put on the Barbie is incredible,
Ah,
man. Oh man, I want to listen to it right now. But
yeah, man.
I think the order of that song being there is pretty perfect too. It almost had to be at the top of the album.
Yeah.
How do you listen to all of these songs and say, hey, what should be at the top and what should be at the back end as a producer yourself?
I look at it like a lot of times I look at it like a game of spades, man.
Hmm.
Um, I believe in playing to win. I believe in leading with your strongest, at least what could be perceived as your strongest. Um,
Sorry about that.
that that of course can depend on, you know, if you are trying to establish a flow and establish even a storyline, that could make it difficult because obviously sometimes it's more of the album cuts that establish whatever flow or whatever. So you got to find that balance. But I am a believer that the singles should be higher up
Hmm.
in the track listing, just for replay value. Um, Generally, there are obviously exceptions to that rule, but um, yeah. So putting Rosa Parks, Rosa Parks had to have been number 3 or number 4, something in there. I wouldn't put that any lower. Um,
I
yeah,
heard
yeah,
Chris
in
Rock
general.
say one time that when artists put their singles at the back of their album, that is not a good sign for the album. That,
Oh, I don't see. I don't know about that though because I don't. That's hard. That's hard because sometimes the way I look at it is, oh shit, your album is so stacked. You just place the singles in the back, and that's how confident you feel about the top half of the album.
in what
Um,
situation has that, I guess, has a great album done that? Because when he said that, I don't know why my mind went here, but the first thing I thought about was Method Man's Judgment Day, um, 2000.
mm,
Judgment Day being at the very end, and it feels so out of place from the rest
yeah,
of the album.
yeah. Sorry, I'm looking up. I'm actually looking up Hard Knock Life because I feel like
Oh,
outside of
well, yeah, that's a.
outside of the song Hard Knock Life, I feel like, which also obviously came out same day as Aquemini. But
Yeah.
let me just see this track. Let me
Well, I
see.
want to say the end of that was Money Ain't a Thing. It's all right. stuff like
Yeah,
that, right? Yeah.
like he put "Can I Get a," "It's Like That," which was a mixtape hit. "It's All Right," "Money Ain't a Thing." Those three songs close it out, preceded by Reservoir Dogs. I wasn't a fan of Paper Chase, but then "Can I Get a" "Can I Get a" is track 9.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like that's a strong album.
It is, man, and I hear people shit on Volume Two a lot in recent time, and I'm like, I can't really do that. I really feel like Volume Two, based on the impact of the records that are on it, it has to be a classic. Now, we might not like Jay's performance on there, bar for bar, in relation to some of his more heralded bar work, but if we're talking about the songs, it's hard to put something like American Gangster justifiably over Volume 2, to be honest.
Yeah,
It really
yeah,
is. Like, we're talking about the songs.
yeah.
Oh,
He's never had an album with so many singles on it.
yeah.
Like it's stacked with singles. Like,
Yeah.
and he threw Money in the Thing because Money in the Thing was old by the time this album came out, but still, like
Yeah.
it's still stacked. But I think the point to your point though, Hard Knock Life is number 2, but then it's followed. I don't know. This whole album is singles, actually. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I was going to say that when you mentioned Volume 2. I was like, well, Volume Two's whole album is singles.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like if
it is.
if well, 50 did do this. 50 put Disco Inferno at the end of the Massacre.
Master.
And I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, well that kind of lets you know that that record wasn't a part of the process. You
right.
know? It was very I agree with you. You kind of look at it like spades, and you also look at it like when we're talking about sequencing in the order of what how you want these songs to go. You want to add versatility, and you want
Hmm.
to kind of take people on a ride, if you will. You know,
Right,
you
right,
wanna you wanna start the mood out. Like I said, Return of the Gangster set a tone. It's like, all right, now that we got that out the way, let me hit you with Rosa Parks. It's the hit single, boom, and we're gonna get that
hmm,
out the way too. Oh, and you know
right,
what? We got this record with Raekwon. Boom, we're gonna get that out the way too. Now we're kind of
right.
gonna go a little bit more in depth, and that's when Aquemini steps in.
Yeah,
I don't know about having synthesizer at 6. I think synthesizer at 6 is because this is an experience. Let me talk about synthesizer. Outkast is known to be that eccentric group. I think Stankonia really put him on a different plane with that. Synthesizer is like the beginnings of that. We had never heard Outkast delve into those worlds, those sounds. Talking about, I mean, they talked about outer space and ATLians, but it was in a different way. This was
right.
more synthy,
Yeah,
Synthesizer was the name of the song. So, I mean, that's part of why that. They never really rhymed over synthesized type tracks before then either. So, it's going to be very difficult to place this on an album anyway. And I think, I would imagine that having George Clinton on there and having him featured on there was a part of it being at the top of the album.
I agree. I
Mhm.
agree.
And so once you make the decision to say, all right, we just hit you with a song like Aquemini, Dre got quotables on here. I mean, because he did get the quotable for his first verse
Yeah,
on Aquemini. This is
yeah,
the only song where Big Boy and Dre have two separate verses on one song. Now we can make an experimental choice.
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and so let's throw this experiment in there and see what happens. And
And
then
I
go ahead, go ahead.
and I also feel like George Clinton is the cheat code to be able to use this as a great transition because we're gonna see George Clinton. We're gonna listen to we're gonna listen to that. And so that works as a great transition going into whatever's next without us feel as listeners feeling like, man, what was that? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what I
You're
mean?
right.
Well, you got George Clinton on it. Like, who's gonna get mad at that?
Yeah. And I would say this too. I think Andre's verse on that song closing out really helped sell that record on people. I
Mm-hmm.
could tell that at that time, and again, they had never made a record like this before. Andre said this was the first time that he believes that he did sing on a record that, in that way. And Big Boy pulled him to the side and was like, yo, man, niggas in the streets ain't gonna feel this. You could tell that Big Boy wasn't as comfortable on that record as Dre was.
Right.
But again, this is the beginnings of Big Boy adjusting to some of those way out there eccentric themes. And I mean, he did a great job at doing it. But I do think that how comfortable Dre sounded on there, in addition with having George Clinton on there, is one of the big selling points. Like, did you hear what he
Yeah.
said? Marijuana illegal, but cigarettes cool. I might look kind of funny, but I ain't.
No fool. Yeah.
Those bars can't be synthesized. I mean, not synthesized. Those can't be denied. Like,
Yeah.
synthesizer, microwave me, give me a drug so I can make 7 babies, pump my breast up, can you suck the fat up, just wear my life up here like ain't no such thing as bad luck. My nose ain't right, think I need a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Just take a pick a yellow, red, or black, or a blue one. Virtual reality, virtual bullshit.
Bullshit.
Beat you up in the pulpit. Who a bitch? Give me my gas so I can. You can't deny those things, and that was the great thing about Dre. And even with the blonde wig and the ski boots, it's like when you heard him rhyme, you couldn't deny what was going on. And I think that his performance on that record specifically makes you be like, if I normally didn't like a record like Synthesizer, I like it now.
Yeah. And even hearing you spit that verse, it occurred to me that that was really I feel like this album was the birth of the Andre 3000 character
I agree.
that we know.
I agree.
The birth of this eccentric, had you could say that he has feminine ways or whatever, but he will whoop your ass at the same time. He'll slap the shit out you type shit. And I think yeah, just I don't really go with the poet, the pimp and the poet type of thing, because I think that minimalizes both of what they're about.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Big Boy is definitely, to me, like, Big Boy spitting so much game on this album. He's spitting so much game on this album in the slick talk, um, that can't be minimized to just pimp shit.
Well, see,
And at the same,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, that was it.
What I was gonna say to piggyback on that, what was so smart about this track listing and the sequencing is like, okay, well, we know that really wasn't Big Boy's world. He's getting used to that world. Now we're gonna hit you with Slump, where he is giving you game. And I think they said this Slump was the first beat that Big Boy made. Great job,
Yeah.
by the way. Backbone, Cool Breeze on there. Dre kind of
Mhm.
sits out on this one. And, Big Boy's on there. Cops and robbers, niggas be down to get them dollars and cents. Niggas done slump like baseball players when they show on their rent. Anything going, you ain't knowing how much money you spent, but in the real world, you're surrounded by the ladies and gents. Hang around because you're giving all the weed and all the chicken. Feeding everybody, smoking them out when you broke. No, they was missing. Riding about 4 deep. Tear up your suspension. Your baby mama on child support, my fault, forgot to mention. You ain't even had no checking account, but thinking about no pension. I used to work at Steak and Ale or cold up in the kitchen. Had the determination to graduate it, and I got the whole rap world fascinated. Made a piece of the pie for me and my family, so I made it. Continue to sell dope, paying the bills if you could do it, but legislation got this new policy: 3 strikes and you ruin. Yeah, and it's like now we're gonna let Big
Bro,
Boy shine, right?
you're a walking encyclopedia of Outkast verses, man. That's insane.
Oh, please.
That's crazy.
And then they come with West Savannah, right? And
Yeah.
West Savannah, to me, that's a gem. And that's one of those moments from a production standpoint and a A&R standpoint where it's just a smart decision. It's very smart. And they said it was Dre's idea to put West Savannah on there. It's like when Kanye and Common made the decision, or whoever made the decision, to go with the live version of the Food from the Chappelle Show and put that on beat. And whoever
Hmm.
made the decision to put Kendrick's live version of I on To Pimp a Butterfly. Smart moves, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like West Savannah's one of those. Like, you had this song in the stash. How did you know that this would even fit here? And where they sequenced it and where they put it was perfect. They put it right there in these transitional points. Because
Right.
now that we're going through it, Aquemini builds. But
Yes.
Synthesize is a transition. Slump is a bit of a transition. And even West Savannah is a further transition. Now we're getting to the back half of this album, which
Mm-hmm.
is a whole different energy. And I
Right.
think you said it before we got online. You was like, this is in the cassette era. What song is the first part of side B on a cassette? Does it start with the art of
The
storytelling? Because I would
artist
imagine it
storytelling.
would. It does. See,
Artist
I didn't even
storytelling.
know.
Yeah.
I've never seen the cassette
Yeah.
in my life. Yeah,
Yeah.
and, and it reads like that. And so,
It reads
yeah,
like that.
this is part two. And to start with art of storytelling one as the back half of the album. Oh man,
Crazy. It's crazy.
and then to have the wherewithal. You know what? There's two. I'm gonna be nitpicky here. Two things that you could critique on Aquemini. I wish Ghostface was on Skewed on the Barbie, and
Ooh.
I wish that the Slick Rick version of Art of Storytelling was on all the
Yeah.
albums. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
But that's just being
Yeah.
greedy at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if Ghostface is on Skewed on the Barbie, where does he go last? Or he go after Ray? Or they go back
Yeah.
and oh man, Ghost and Ray going back and forth on Skewed on the Barbie would have been nuts.
Yeah. Or just making it 4 verses too. Like I'm okay with that. I'm
A
okay with
remix
4
of
verses.
something Ghost, man. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um so yes, now we're on Artist Storytelling 1 and 2. Both produced by Mr. DJ. You know, 1/3 of Earth Tone 3, including Drake
Mm-hmm.
Big Boy. Um this hook comes from Sleepy Brown. This was the third single on Aquemini, I believe. Yeah, third single. Love the music video. It
Yeah.
shows off both of their storytelling capabilities. They strung in a story where Big Boy's talking about one person and Dre's talking about the friend of that person, right? And
Right.
I think it's a dope record. So I think it's a great single. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the right single, even though in retrospect, maybe Spody would have been more of the right single. What do you think between those two? Should they have waited on Artist Storytelling one, or did they make the right decision by putting that one out?
It's hard to say. It's
Yeah, it
hard to
is hard
say
to say.
how Spody would be received as a single
Yeah,
because the legend of Spody sort of grew over time, and it was like one of the and it depends on what you're going for because really Spody Odie is like it's hard to say. I
it's
will
hard to
say
even
that
play Spody on the radio. You said earlier that it's like 8 minutes long, and back in the
yeah
day, that was well over your time when it comes to putting out a single.
yeah. So like think about the album version of Get Up Get Out with
Yep.
all the versions on it, and then for the radio version they cut it down to Big Boy and Dre.
Which
Um, which and right because honestly, CeeLo to me, CeeLo's verse was crazy. Wasn't it his song?
it was.
Wasn't Get Up Get Out his song?
CeeLo's verse is
I
the
mean,
best. I would look. Gibbs' verse might have been the second or third,
a
to be
lot of
honest.
people in my past tried to do me. Like
Gibbs went
he killed
crazy
that.
on there.
He killed that. He killed that shit. And so I feel like that's what we're sort of what we have here. And to me, I feel like Spodioti is like it's like Funky Ride Part Two. It's
Hmm.
like the black exploitation Funky Ride Part Two just taken up to the next level, just as far as the vibe that it gives you, where it's placed on the album, and what the function of it on the album. At least what Funky Ride did for Southern Playlistic, it felt like that's what this sort of was. And so if I'm comparing it, and it's if I'm comparing it to art of storytelling, for me, it's crazy because those are the two best beats on the album, in my opinion.
Mm.
I, I personally think Spodioti is the best beat on the album just because of how iconic and legendary the drum or the horns are at this point. But on some hip hop shit, I think that art of storytelling is the best beat. It's the one that just off the first listen, you're like, oh, that shit's undeniable. Like
I
it's
love the hook too, man. Great hook
yeah,
work by Sleepy Brown. I mean, and it was funny. I was playing artist storytelling around a younger person, and they identified it with J. Cole. You know,
oh.
yeah. So it is what it is,
You
man.
don't know yet?
But yeah, I think they needed a video for this because of how visual the lyrics were. We can say the same thing about Spodioti. It's a shame that we didn't get a video for Spodioti, but you know, the game was different then. You know, you didn't have rappers putting out singles where they were doing spoken word. This was
Right.
experimental. And I think when people think about Outkast and its experimentation, they think more so of genre bleeding as far as more on the rock end and those type of edges. But also, doing something like Spodioti was experimental at that time as well. It's more of a reggae vibe, and I think Dre said
Yeah.
that the whole inspiration from Spody was him listening to a lot of reggae, and he went to their bases. Preston Crump was like, I'm
I
looking
think
for
I
something.
think that's where I think the sample is a reggae sample,
Okay,
actually.
is it a sample? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, some of it, not the horns,
Hmm.
but the guitar lick. The guitar lick on it is a sample.
That one, one, one. Okay,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
Preston said he came up with the bass line that doom 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 doom, and that's anybody who
yeah,
listens to reggae. That's reggae. That doom doom doom.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
and I love the ride out with that, with the drums, the live instrumentation, and I can't speak enough about that if we're talking production. The production in 1998, it was in a transformative state, right? We were getting away from a lot of the samples, and Swiss Beats was taking over the game, and we had a lot of cartoon-ish. I'm not saying this to be disparaging, but there was more keyboardist sounds going on in hip hop. It wasn't a lot of sampled drums like we, received in the early '90s and late '80s where the drums were full. The drums were a lot more thin. And so to hear these 22, 23-year-old guys get in the lab and say, we're going to do a little mix of both. But most of the drums on Aquemini, correct me if I'm wrong, outside of, artist storytelling and Skewered on the Barbie and things like that, they sounded like live drums. And Spody was one of
Yeah.
those moments. And it never took away from the grittiness or the hip hop nature of it. We always felt like, yo, this just sounds good. You know what I'm saying? Like we never really got into the technicalities of it. We just knew that, you know what, this really sounds good to my ear.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's what make it stand out to me, honestly.
Let's talk Mamacita. Because that, for a lot of people, that's one of the, I guess, lower points on the album. Even though, I mean, when I say that, there really aren't any low points. If Mamacita is one of your lower points, you're doing pretty good.
Right.
Um, Dre's verse is always fascinating, but I think the Big Boy, and once again, closing
Big
it,
boy,
that's one of my favorite Big Boy verses. I got my rap name from that verse. Like, he just
come on.
demolished that shit. Like, boy,
He
yeah.
said,
And Witch Doctor showed up like he always
yeah,
did. I love
yeah,
Witch Doctor's verse. I love Masada's verse.
yeah. I
Four,
think the I think the I think the argument is the hook mainly. I
mm,
think especially just on this album, the hooks are so great on this album. Mamacita, there's something about Mamacita that's, it I don't know, it's hard to explain like when you got it's like that now. You have four,
yeah,
five cats off in my or you got hush that fuzz.
yeah.
Everybody it just seemed like
Even the
the
sun goes
other
down. Heroes
heroes
eventually
eventually
die.
die. Horoscopes often lie. It just
Whoa.
seems like the hooks just there was a little bit more effort put into them
Yeah.
than Mamacita, and it felt like. And look, I'm always a fan of not overthinking moments in the song or overthinking a song, but it did feel like this was one of those where they didn't want to overthink it, and they were like, "Nah, it's cool like that. That works." And I feel like this actually may have benefited from a little bit more, just adding just something else to the hook. Just, and only because when it's put up next to Skewed on the Barbie, we ain't trying to lose. Say, be goddamn it, they done changed. It's just hard. Like the hooks on this album are so strong.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Old school players and new school fools. Now I will say this about Mamacita. That beat is hard.
It's
And
the hardest beat.
and when you got a hard beat, like, Dre killed it, but Big Boy, it's crazy, man. Like the way he came in there, man, Friday night, boy, breaking the old school out, boy, be cruising. It's like, yeah, it makes me so mad when people understate and don't talk about Big Boy, and they
He
big
said
up Dre. It's like, did you listen to their catalog? Like, this
he
dude
said
is crazy
well,
too.
he said
Like,
he said about four niggas and four hoes, ain't nobody
ain't nobody
losing, but they
losing.
choose, but they choosing. Better get in when you
Get in when
fit
you
in
fit
because it's
in because it's
crucial.
crucial.
And I'm gonna cut out two of them because that's just what I'm used to.
I mean
What?
that. The first to look my way just gonna get splack packed from the front to the back. This cognac got my throat burning like burlap. Whoa! Everybody cheesing knowing these hoes don't cut like pleases. These hookers they praise
Mhm.
my crew like Reverend Hodo praising Jesus. And you know what? Speaking of Reverend Hodo, it's like he plays the harmonica on Rosa Parks. He's Andre's
Yeah,
stepfather. And some of the things that they said in the article when they were talking about, friends of their family were involved. Like, I think he said Tony Hightower. Andre said him and Tony Hightower, who sang on Hold On, was it Hold On Be Strong or
I think it
Gangster?
was
One
Hold On
of
Be
them.
Strong.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he said they went to third grade together. CeeLo, and Dre went to third grade together. They said Tony Hightower's mother sang on Slump. It's like it was a family affair. They just pulling people
yeah,
in who was fam and say, "Yo, we in the studio. Come on, let's go." That's great production, man. Where you don't have to call Tony Braxton or whatever for what I'm saying, some vocals. You can make the best with what you got. And I would be very interested to know, just based on that approach, what the recording budget was for this fantastic album. It sounds like they made
yeah,
a whole lot with very little. And that's
yeah,
very, very impressive, man. Very
yeah,
impressive. A lot of
yeah,
talented people over in the dungeon, but I had no idea that, like, Tony Hightower's mother singing on Slump. Like, you never really know who these people are. Like, Andre had his infant son at the time, you know,
yeah,
crying
yeah.
on the record. Like,
Right, right, right.
it's
And I think
incredible.
Masanda was they said in the article they were working with a few women, a
Hmm.
few female MCs, but she ended up sort of being the one that they liked, and they flew her down from Jersey.
Yep.
She said
Yep.
Rico flew her down from Jersey, which is crazy.
Yeah, because I thought it was supposed to be her song, right?
It was supposed to be her song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that makes
yeah,
sense. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that beat was crazy, and I felt like, at least at that time, and still do, that was Big Boy's dimension. And that's the great thing about Outkast. You have, well, at least that's how we felt then, and I think that, over time it's kind of gotten even broader, but we knew that synthesizer was Dre's world, but we were also going to get Big Boy's world, which was Mamacita, and both of them were going to show up in each other's world, and they did it. Um,
yeah,
then you got Spodio de Dopalicious. I mean, we already talked about that, so there's really nothing more to say about that. Horns Unlimited did the horns for the people who don't know. The process of making a record like that, though,
yes,
it's storytelling again. That I forgot how Dre said, and maybe you remember from the article, how he said that the spoken word thing came about, but they said that Sleepy laid his part down, and everybody
right,
was going crazy. It's like, look, you got another verse, you know what I'm saying? Like, and
yeah,
the concept of it came from, I think Dre said that they used to go out high school, get drunk, whatever, and they used to
yeah,
go to the club, and he said he remember a night where he was so drunk he couldn't make it to the door. He said that part is true, but everything after that was made up.
Right,
And
right,
for the
right.
people who think that he's saying Hollywood Cole or don't understand what he's saying Hollywood Court, which was a street out here in Atlanta. I think it's still out here. It's just gentrified as hell. But yeah, that was the hood.
Yeah,
And I love what Big Boy had to say on there. It's just a perfect record, man. It's one of those
yeah.
records that we talk about aging well and timeless. This is an example because we knew this record back then. It was getting played on the radio out here. I think we even played it in band and stuff, but
Hmm.
it has gotten larger over time because of the
Yes.
quality of that record and because of just the greatness of it. Greatness ages well. And I truly believe, and maybe this is the band nerd in me, I truly believe live instrumentation ages so much better than anything else. You can't
Always.
replace real instruments and real musicians. You can't replace that. No matter how many
Always.
electronics, AI, and all that stuff you bring into the game, that stuff is going to sound like a time period. But when you bring in live instrumentation, man, like you don't know what it just ages better. No one can listen to
Yeah,
Spodio Dopalicious and say, "Yeah, that's hip hop in '98."
yeah, yeah.
You can't
And
really.
it's what fascinates me also about this song is how simple it is. It's really simple. It's really, I mean, the down to the hook, the damn, 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 like,
It
and
took me
then just
forever to understand that was a Good Time reference. When James died, man, and yeah, that was crazy.
damn, damn, yeah, yeah, man.
James, I'm like, who's James? James from Good Time.
Yeah, man.
Um,
You want?
how did you think? What did you think about the production choice of bringing in the Nathan freestyle from jail?
I so me being a story person, I loved it because
I
for
loved
me,
it too.
what I took, yeah. On the surface, you could look at it as sort of a cliche rap skit because we've seen it before. But for me, before it, we have y'all scared, and he's talking about really talking about being mentally enslaved, being in a mental prison, and then to go to the next track where you got this man who's literally in prison, who's
Mm,
literally incarcerated, and then followed by what?
liberation.
Liberation.
Well, I'm skipping, man. You're right. And that is very interesting. And that again, this is storytelling. When we're doing sequencing of albums, and I know I asked this question earlier, but you're right. When you're sequencing albums, you think about storytelling, and that's what they were doing here. So let me rewind back to Y'all Scared, which comes after Spodio the Doublelicious. One of
Yeah.
my personal favorites. It wasn't one of my favorites back when I was, in high school. I loved it because I love Goody Mob, and I always love when Goody Mob and Outkast collabed. I love Dre's verse, but now, man, it's like it's so man. Goody Mob stuff aged so well because of the
It
kind
aged so well.
of mindset and the things they were saying as a youth. You really didn't understand as much, but
Right.
they stick with you over time. Over time, excuse me, and for this to be a Goody Mob feature where they say, you know what, CeeLo, we don't need you for this one. We need you on the next one. I mean, it's brilliant, man. When you got Timo starting it off, piece by piece, this puzzle comes together. Sever your ties with the bad guys. Let the
Hmm.
lies go. If you want to be a hoe, go ahead and don't be scared. Like
Yeah.
it's like whoa,
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
is where we're going. And then
Yeah.
Gip comes in and with his flow, because Gip got the flow and the voice,
Yeah.
and then you hear Andre gearing up while Gip's rhyming, and then he slaughters it, and then Big Boy comes in, February 1st, 1975, our birthday, and then you got Cujo closing it out. Cujo killed this song.
Cujo.
Cujo is the jizza of the Dungeon family. Like he
Yeah.
might not have the flashiest style or flow, but when you breaking down what this nigga is
What he's
saying,
saying.
like
Yeah.
it's like grown man talk. Like
Grown.
straight
Yes.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
never
And
folks.
it's
If we fell
see,
out over this little cream or let some soft legs come in between our dreams, we live like kings and die like fucking men. I don't care how rough you roll. You could be shut down. Ain't no opening no shop. We already established. You lap dogging, we box hogging. Grown men don't beg for attention. Keep
Woo!
lifting, high heels clicking. Paper champions leaving with their feet behind. Like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can't turn
To
over with
me,
dirt
this is.
on you. Slain dead. I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna
Go ahead.
say,
Go
to
ahead.
me, this is what the album is about.
Yeah.
To me, this is what if you can describe what is Aquemini about in one phrase, one word, whatever. It's about being scared and being letting go of that fear, not being scared to be different, not for the sake of just being different just to be different, but they really make a point. Outkast really makes a point to sort of put the mirror back on us and say, look at y'all. Y'all scared to be yourselves.
Mhm.
Y'all, for whatever reason, you're scared of embarrassment. You're scared of failure. You're homophobic. You're this, you're that. You're scared. You're scared.
You scared of
So
what
if you're
people
scared,
think.
you're scared of what people think. You're scared of what people think. And that theme that's to me that's the broad theme. That's a universal theme that spans far beyond hip hop. That's life. We make a lot of we people make a lot of poor, terrible decisions off of fear and insecurity.
Mhm.
And to me, I think the largest message on this album is you got to be fearless.
That's what made Outkast Outkast. Like sonically, they were fearless.
Yeah.
And I think this is the album that not only allowed Dre to be as free as he needed to be, Big Boy as well, but the fans were like, "Oh no, nah, I'm good with it. As long as this material is like this and is this level, do whatever you
Mm-hmm.
guys gotta do." This album gave them a license to do whatever.
Right.
And they took that license and they went even further. But Aquemini is an important piece for that reason. Like in a very pivotal year in hip hop, we talk about the date that you were speaking of. This album came out the same day as Jay Z's Volume Two, which was a very
Mm-hmm.
pivotal point in his career. Came out the same day as Black Star's um, self-titled album,
Right.
Tribe's last album, The Love Movement,
Crazy.
huge Brand Nubians album, and it's like this is a statement piece, and it sounds nothing like what was going on at the time. I feel like the Source magazine was put between a rock and a hard place. They were forced, I won't say forced to give them 5 mics, but yeah. I mean, if you're going to, Jay Z was coming with Volume 2. You couldn't give Volume 2 what you gave Volume 1, which is 4 mics. So they gave Volume 2 4.5 mics. And there was no way in
Mm-hmm.
the same issue you were going to give this album and Volume 2 the same rating. You couldn't do it. You just can't.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's not,
Agreed.
you just can't.
Ain't no way.
They're on two
Ain't no
different
way.
levels. I always say, man, like if Volume Two's 4.5, man, Aquemini is like 5.5, man. This album is
Yeah.
that much better, and that's no disrespect to Volume Two, but
Yeah.
it's just that great.
I always felt like Volume Two was a strong 4 mic album.
I agree.
And I don't and that's no disrespect. Sorry, you can hear you can hear the sirens in the background. And that's no disrespect. But I definitely, especially when you place it up against an album like Aquemini, like
Yeah.
it's just it's different.
Well, they couldn't give Jay Z. They couldn't give Volume Two what they gave Volume One,
Right.
because Volume Two is supposed to be an
Mhm.
elevation from Volume One. So,
Yeah.
giving it the same rating wouldn't have been part of the plan. And so, yeah, they were
Right.
put in a
Right.
situation, and I do believe that if somehow in some universe they were able to give Volume Two 4 mics, I think they would have given out Aquemini 4.5. I do.
Hmm.
But I just
Yeah.
don't think that as a publication they were able to give these two albums the same rating. Liberation was daring and musical. You had Big Boy and Dre singing on there. You had Erica Badu singing on there. I think that's Deborah Killings on there on "Shake That Load Off." Background singer,
Hmm.
background singer for Cass and LaFace. And
Yeah.
you had, did I say CeeLo? Yeah, yeah, CeeLo. And then you had Big Rube. And then you had this incredible musical, Ride Out, man. I mean, Outkast, like you said, Funky Ride set a tone. And it set a tone to say, you know what, we can have songs on our albums where we're not rapping.
Yeah.
And when I interviewed Big Gip, he said something that really stuck with me in the fact that they were signed to an R&B label. So they knew that they couldn't go out there and make records like the rest of their rap peers. They had to have an R&B type of, vibe to them. And that helped them grow as musicians and as artists. And I think that Spodiote and
Mm,
Liberation are products of that. These are
wow.
guys who went in the lab and were like, look, yeah, musicality, singing, R&B is important, and we're not gonna water down the R&B by making our singers rap. We're gonna sing with the singers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think about to that point. I I'm interested. Outkast produced that. I'm interested in who did the. Let me look this up real quick. Who did the vocal arrangements
Hmm.
on this, because it's just really smart. So like, there's a moment. There's a moment in the song where just some, and it's simple, but it's so effective, and you have to be a musician to think to do this. But there's a moment in the song where I think it's during CeeLo's verse, where the female, there's like oohs and ahs underneath
Hmm.
the. It's
Hmm.
like something vocally is going on underneath, and having worked with some great vocal producers, but also people who are just masters of vocal arrangement. That was intentional. It was very, very, very intentional, in a way that, just something as simple as that, just knowing where to place background vocals, in general, because I don't know if a hip hop producer would have done that. I don't know if a hip hop producer would have thought to do something as simple as that. And I
Well,
think it's those.
yeah, I was gonna not to interrupt you. I was gonna say when you got Erica Badu in the building, you got CeeLo in the building, and you got Andre in the building, and Deborah Killings, I believe, and not to mention all of the other talented people in the dungeon. I mean, these guys made waterfalls, man. For
Yeah,
TLC, I mean, it's no telling. Yeah, they
yeah,
they they
yeah,
know how to make a
exactly.
song, man, and those arrangements were very impressive. I wouldn't be surprised if CeeLo had something to do with it. He also sang background on Waterfalls. So
Yeah,
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 I mean, I'm sure everybody was at the table. I thought it was very smart of fitting in Big Rube at the end of that as well. I love
yes,
the fact that, and I've said this about Supreme Clientele, minus Old Dirty, but I love the fact that they were able to fit everybody in their crew on that album, and it didn't even feel like it. Everybody in that crew's on the album. Backbone and Cool Breeze are on Slump. Cujo Timo and Gip on Y'all Scared. CeeLo's on Liberation. Big Rube's on Liberation. Boom. Dungeon Family right there. Am I leaving anybody out? Organized Noise. You know what I'm saying? Sleepy Brown.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
everybody is
yeah,
on the album and it doesn't even feel like that. It's clearly an Outkast album. And I think that in
right,
this era, a lot of people haven't mastered that ability to make your project, get others involved, and still make it feel like your project. It
right,
never felt like we got a bunch of features. We even got Raekwon as a bonus. You know what I'm saying? Is he the
right,
only non-dungeon
right.
person on this album? I mean, not counting Badu. Badu was with Dre at the time.
Yeah, yeah. Badu is the only other one, but I will say she feels like part of the collective in a way that Raekwon feels like the only feature.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So, all right, to close this out, Chunky Fire, and I love Chunky Fire. It's one of my favorites. It's very different. It's probably the most different song. This and Synthesizer are the most different songs on this album. It kind of gives you a preview as to where Outkast is about to go. I don't know if they used this song as inspiration to where they were going, or if this was already something to say, you know what, this is where we're going to go next. I love the drums on it. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah,
And Dre has a lot of styles. But I like when Dre raps in that style. Like, this is my story, this is my song. Until them
Mhm.
don't attempt to try to sit home. It's just a poem. Until you learn right from wrong. Knowing the bless the situation when they grab the crown. He did that on Red Velvet too. When he's like, Don was the one who came in contact with the slow crows who come to sell crack on his megaphone. I love that. That's actually my
That's
favorite Dre style.
that's an underrated Dre verse right there.
Yeah.
Red Velvet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
one? The first or second verse?
Whichever the whatever I don't know it word for word, but whatever one where he was talking about as soon as you pull the car off the lot.
Ah, how can you measure a nigga by multiple figures he may got had in a purchase to do his Mercedes? It loses value soon as you try that bitch off the lot. Would it still be the ladies most wanted? Doggone it, you want it. He got a type nigga around the town. Had in plated so flashy action with habit. These niggas hurting and working. Would he be found?
Oh my
In
god.
a hole. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but yeah, Chunky Fire style Dre. I
Yeah.
love when he sets it off with that style, and Big Boy sounded great on there as well with the pianos and that breakdown. And I love how they went to the whole screwed and chopped thing to slow
Yeah.
it down, and then they closed out the skit, closed it out with them getting booed at the Source Awards.
Mhm.
And I do feel like that might be the moment where they were able to immortalize Dre saying the South got something to say, because they closed out this album with that. I don't remember people constantly talking about that moment before they threw that on record.
Right.
And so
Same.
when you throw things on wax, man, they stick. And
Yeah.
it was important for
Yeah.
them to do that.
Yeah. And I think also with the help of the people that came after him, the Ludacris's, the TIs, and all of that, I think I do. I love how, especially Ti, he's always, even as a younger rapper, he always bigged up the ones who came before him, whether it was
Yep.
UGK, whether it was Goody Mob, and I think that also helps when you have the newer rappers at the time also paying homage to who came before them.
Yeah. Yeah, man, Aquemini is untouchable. Like, and us breaking it down in this way, yeah, they were spitting on there. Yeah, the song structure and all that was great. The hooks are great, but I do think that production is a big part of what separates Aquemini from a lot of our hip hop classics. One of the things that Aquemini might not have that some of the all time great hip hop albums have is like that mega identifiable single. But if we're talking about end to end, 72, 74 minutes of just straight up greatness and, flawless execution on, both ends on the board, on the mic, and, with the skits and flow, Aquemini's a very
Yeah,
tough album to beat. If we're gonna go that way, you know what I'm saying? Like, of course, you got your albums like a Doggy Style that just got bangers like Gin and Juice and What's My Name. Yeah, Coleman, I don't have that, but
yeah,
what it does have is substance, musicality, creativity. It does have the singles. Rosa Parks a big single, and so is Spodio de Delicious, and it has bars, and it has any and everything you could want, and not just a hip hop album, but just an album that any music lover would love. I think that even if you're not a hip hop fan, you can get into Kumina, and I think the production
yeah.
has a lot to do with that.
I was gonna say, and you probably already answered this because your what you said says a lot. Um, you have been on record saying that Aquemini is the greatest album you've ever heard. Do you still feel that way? And if so, why?
I I don't know, and I think it's a how like people say LeBron James the most complete player ever.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's like that. Now I would have to do a qualifier like that because it's tough to say that Aquemini is a better album than, let's just say, Paid in Full. You know,
right.
where
Or Doggy Style.
you got some big records on. That's hard to really straight up say. And just thinking about when Paid in Full came out, or it takes a nation of millions to hold us back. That's hard to say to Kumara is a better album than that. Understanding, when that album came out, how groundbreaking it was, and what Chuck D and Flav were on that record. But I will say this: like, if we're talking about just a complete hip hop album end to end, I do think that yes, it's the most complete hip hop album I've ever heard. It's kind of like Purple Rain and Sign of the Times from
Mm,
Prince. I think Sign of the Times is a more complete album. Is it better than
yeah,
Purple Rain? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so today. But it's more complete. I can definitely say that. It's
yeah,
more.
yeah,
I can say that
yeah,
with confidence.
yeah. It's hard because like I put Aquemini like Aquemini ran so that To Pimp a Butterfly could fly,
For sure.
and you know, but albums like that, I that dare to experiment, and not only dare to experiment, but they do it successfully. It's for me. I have to give more credit. I have to give points to
I,
that album for that, because they didn't come out just doing the same old. Even though the same old has can be done in an amazing way, they put in the effort to go the extra mile and try to take things further.
yeah.
And so I do think that, especially if you compare it to an album like Volume Two, for example, and it's not taking anything away from Volume Two, because Volume Two is a massive album, but the level of difficulty to to pull off an Aquemini is
It's very
leagues.
difficult. And
It's very difficult.
I got to give credit where credit's due. Like I said, I give Andre a lot of shit on the show sometimes, and that's just because I love him, man. I love Cass, but this this is both of their brainchilds, but from a production standpoint, you know, Andre put in a lot of work on this album, and
Mhm.
I don't think that there is an Outkast album that he did put this level of work into, and just to have that foresight and that vision to say that, you know what, I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to go out here and do some things that I haven't done, that may not have ever been done, on a mainstream level, at least from the South, and to be the guy that everybody looked to as, that supreme MC, to say, you know what, well, I'm going to step out and do something different, as opposed to just go out here and just wrap circles around people. I got to give him a lot of credit, and he did he kind of took a Q-tip backseat, if you will, in saying, you know what, a couple of these songs I'm gonna sit out, where I'm just gonna kind of handle some of the production things. Big Boy is the MC in this group in many facets, and the flashy one,
Mhm.
the confident one, and I'm gonna work around that. They work around each other so well, man. It's like when Wade and LeBron were working together in Miami. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
I'll step
yeah.
forward, step back. You step forward, I'll step back. And
Mm.
Aquila, to me, is Outcast, not just at the peak of their talents and their powers as a group, but just the chemistry. And
Yes.
never got that level of chemistry ever again. I feel like it's the last album they made together. I don't feel like
Right.
Stankonia was made together. Stankonia sounds very separate in many ways. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's bittersweet, because it's sad that it showed that where they could take things, and I feel like they still could, but we just never got that again as fans. And maybe I'm a bitter
Yeah.
fan in some way. So great
Because you
album,
love
man.
it.
We got to do this again, but just for this series, I think Akumanot's the perfect one to set it off with. And
Mm.
you guys let us know in the chat or in the comment section which album we should do next like this. I have an idea that Illmatic should be covered, but yeah.
Listen, bro. Listen. Because look, so
Because
hold on.
from a production standpoint, it's important. We talk about Nas and his performance,
Hold on, man.
but
About
got the
Aquemini.
crates, got the
Hold on.
crates.
Listen. Listen. Hold up. Well,
Doggy style, that's another one.
one,
Yeah,
you
that's
already
another.
know. But hold up. Yeah, man. Harold
Where we
Melvin.
at? Up College Dropout. Listen, Illmatic, yes. From a
Yeah.
production standpoint,
And
I just saw
him
College
and
Dropout. Which one
him
should
and
be covered? College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, or My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy?
oh,
We'll think about that. Y'all let us know
yeah,
in the comment section, but it sounds like Illmatic might be next.
yeah. I'm down for that. I'm
I'm
down for that.
that too. Yeah. Yeah, we got some research to do, even though we know these albums like the back of our hands. But I
Yeah,
love the fact that we were able to reference this creative loafing article
yeah,
because, even as a listener, you might have heard these songs 100 times. To actually get the insight from the people that were there is important. So
yeah. Absolutely.
I appreciate you, baby. Man. I didn't know how long we were going to be on today, but I figured it wasn't going to be 30 minutes. It's damn near an hour and 30 minutes. So get long
Well,
winded when we
good.
talk about greatness, man.
Hell yeah, man. Wouldn't happen any other way.
Appreciate you, sir, man. Hit like and subscribe, everybody. And like I said, let us know in the comment section, you know what I'm saying, what albums you think we should do next. All right, peace.